The Jim and Terry Show, talking about things that fall down, things that go bump, not in the night, in the daylight. Things that get tangled up on our feet and we drag around with us for what? Days, weeks, months, years? What's all this got to do with Robbie Robertson?
Well, I don't know what it's got to do with Robbie Robertson, but I know what it's got to do with Jim Sampson and his cleanliness. I went and visited a guy who's playing in a band. I said to them, yeah, good praise band, nice. Can I look at your guitar? He goes, yeah, go ahead. And he says, it's custom made. I said, wow. I said, is it like one of a kind? He goes, totally one of a kind. I looked at it. It was hollow body. Looked like a Gretsch kind of a guitar with twin humbuckings and another pickup. And the neck looked beautiful.
Humbuckers and single coils.
Oh, yeah, it was beautiful.
Tweaked.
And I said, wow, that is truly great. Never seen anything like that. Walked away and pulled it off. And
It got tangled
pulled it
around.
off the guitar case. The wire got caught around my leg, and I just went. I said, I told you, Terry. I said, God. And then I went, no, that's totally your fault.
Totally, Jim.
You did that. It's
Totally,
just,
Jim.
If crap can happen, sometimes it does.
You know, I sit behind this desk, and every time, don't ask me how, the mic cord is way out there somewhere. Yeah. But as I get up and turn things off and turn to go, cords suddenly wrap like snakes around your feet, and all of a sudden you go to leave, and stuff goes flying. And what?
Little gremlin did it.
Yeah, Gremlins.
Tied it around your
Gremlins
leg.
was a great movie back in the day. I still love it. Don't water the Gremlins.
Don't water the gremlins.
Okay, so that's leading us in through the back door in a discussion about musicians, things that happen, the good, the bad, and the ugly of music. And let's start off with the passing of Robbie Robertson.
Yeah, there's been a lot of passings, and we'll talk a little bit about all of them, maybe not with the greatest knowledge, but Robbie Robertson was with the Eagles, not the Eagles.
The band.
What was it? No, but before that with Rompin' Ronnie Hawkins and the Hawks.
Yes.
I think he was a part of the Hawks. And then Dylan saw them and liked them, and he was transitioning over from folk rock, and it was the fellows, Robbie Robertson and the rest of the people in the band decided to call himself the band, and they were the ones that were with Dylan in that very controversial switchover from country, from folk to rock, and they helped mold that whole style of a folky, more rock sound. And man, they had to put up with boos and hisses, and everywhere they played with Dylan over in Europe as well, they were booed everywhere they played, and yet they stuck with it and did it and pumped it off.
It became the sound of other bands like the Eagles, who had that folk rock thing down too.
Yeah. But they were like the pioneers of it, sort of. I believe Dylan truly was influenced by the fame of the Beatles and the sound that he just wanted to put a little more punch in his songs. Anyways, so God rest his soul. They performed.
Robbie Robertson is a Canadian. That's why we're celebrating.
Yes, he's a Canadian. The Weight is one of his famous songs.
Yeah, well, you got that's one of the ones I started to learn when I was a kid, was The Weight. Yeah. And you came out of your car this morning, I could hear you coming down the backyard.
Up on Cripple Creek.
Up on Cripple Creek, she sends me if I spring a leak. She mends me, I don't have to speak, 'cause she defends me. Sweet, whatever thing I never did know.
Oh, great was that? And there's the night they rode old Dixie down.
Joan Baez is the one I remember for that one,
that's
but
Robbie
that's a
Robertson.
Robert. Yes, right. Yeah. So he's a lyricist, songwriter, guitarist, and the genius behind the band. And he just passed away. And I was gonna take a look at where I lost it already, but there was a lot of messages, and one was from Neil Diamond, one was from Bryan Adams, a Canadian. So there you go, a lot of and I saw do I dare confess to this, I saw a tweet from Justin Trudeau, who I think you said it was during the ceremony of the
Order of Canada.
Order of Canada.
It was a big award anyways, that Robbie Robertson got.
Justin Trudeau was embracing Robbie Robertson, who passed away just this week at age 80.
80, yeah, from prostate cancer, I think.
So be aware, as our age and stage, it takes a lot of men.
But we all have to go, too, so...
Yes, and how long do you expect out of your life? What's your longevity?
Well,
You're
I'm getting new eyes. I'm going to go see the specialist, and so they're pulling my eyes out. I'm going to put new ones
Isn't that
in.
nice to be part of an aging stage when science can replace body parts?
Yes, yes. So I'm not getting somebody's eyes, no.
I need
I'm getting lenses. I have cataracts.
Yes. So
And,
science.
and they're driving me nuts. So I want to get it fixed, and I'm willing to pay for it.
Other passings of note. I don't know if you were ever a fan of Pee Wee Herman's.
I was actually. I actually think I saw one of his movie, Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure. I think I saw with his bike and everything else. I thought he was a kind of a brilliant actor.
I thought he was a comedic genius too, and he stayed in role too. I don't think you ever saw him ever interviewed outside of the role of Pee Wee Herman. It was his life.
Yeah.
And then he morphed into something different after he was exposed. I use that word double entendre.
I don't know what's wrong with people. Why would you go to the movies and
I
do
have
that?
no idea, but the clue was the trench coat, I swear.
Oh, yeah. Well.
And after that, though, he reinvented himself. And I think he was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
He could have been, yeah.
He got a couple of different roles.
He had a hard time getting the roles. So.
He was in a movie with, oh my goodness, I think it was called Mystery Men. And he played a guy who you pull his finger and literally he can control his gas, the sphincter, I think they called him, or something like that. That was his superpower. Yeah. So anyway, he reinvented himself and ended up with a fairly significant career. But Pee Wee Herman is the one. How about Sinead O'Connor?
Yeah, she really, her protest against the Pope really, I don't know if it backfired on her or if she was willing to throw her career away on that. But man, did it affect her career after that.
It sure did. I still remember tearing up the picture of the Pope.
Picture of the Pope, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
that was at the beginning before all the stuff was really starting to get, in 1980s something.
Yeah.
At the beginning of it, and she called it out and said, clean your own house first, kind of thing. And lo and behold, if she wasn't spot on in all the investigations, including in the United States with a number of dioceses talking about priests and bishops and the whole system.
And I think her thing was she believed the Pope was covering it up, and maybe he was. Yeah.
Well, I think I
guess you have to.
Last week we spoke on a podcast about this being hallowed ground. The scuttlebutt is that the original occupant of this thing, before we bought it from the diocese, was the fellow was relocated, a forced relocation.
Oh, really, eh?
So not far from home, literally.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's just that the like I've known ministers that are, they're just, congregation gets sick of them, I guess. And so the denomination
will relocate or
relocates them, and sometimes it's not where you want to go.
Yeah, so there's Sinead O'Connor, whose protest against the Roman Catholic Church was really, she took a hit for her career. Her voice was golden. I really did enjoy her voice, and I enjoyed her activism. Yeah,
nobody compares to you. I'm not sure because I just lost interest in her. That I never was enamored by her famous single. I just thought it was okay. It's a song, but there's lots of songs that are famous and wonderful. I go, I don't know. It ain't no Born to Run by Bruce Springsteen. I'm telling you that.
Right. Well, Sinead O'Connor got my empathy card because I think her son committed suicide.
Yes.
And so that, shout out to all people who are suffering from these kinds of
losses.
Well, all of
these celebrities are normal people. Like, Eric Clapton's son died, fell out a window or something. Crap happens. It really
happens.
does.
That's right. All right, one closer to my own heart is the passing of Tony Bennett.
Who? No. Yeah, he was...
he's a crooner par excellence. Mm-hmm. Someone who maybe even has an influence somewhere subliminally in my own crooner style.
Well, how could it not? Really, I mean, the guy was as cool right up to his death pretty well.
It was unbelievable.
I mean, Lady Gaga was the last one I remember doing a duet with him.
A duet with Tony Bennett.
And he held his own quite wonderfully on that. So he's famous, had many, many years behind him. He seemed like a nice guy. I don't know the whole story.
I don't know either. We don't know often the personal lives of some of these, but they're passing because they left an indelible legacy in terms of music and recordings, so we can visit the sounds of the voice.
I think it's him that we all kid about when we go somewhere over, or is that would that be Frank Sinatra? I don't know.
Well, the Rat Pack and Frank Sinatra is a big part of that, but the crooner style is, it came and it went. It was the 40s, 50s. Frank Sinatra peaked, I think, in the 60s. But he kept his career going. Old Blue Eyes was able to salvage a lengthy career out of it all.
Well, Canada's own Bublé must be influenced by Tony Bennett.
I think so.
And
You
Bublé's
can't,
great, by the
you
way.
can't be in that style. Well, sure, it's not bubbly.
Oh.
Have I been commercialized?
So that's just some of the people that have passed.
Musicians,
very recent.
who have passed this week, or last 2 weeks. I think that's a who's who. And that's just what we know of. Who knows what else is going on in the world? Because it's a big world out there. On the Jim and Terry Show, we just gather weekly for our coffee and chat.
Who else knows who's suffering? Some suffer in silence, and right up until the day they pass.
And then all of a sudden you learn posthumously.
Yeah.
It's tough like that. Let's. How about finishing up with the story of the boss that I sent you a
Wasn't
YouTube video?
that wonderful,
The
too?
Graham Norton interview. And what did Springsteen share?
Well, I know it was a kid. A kid ran into him where? Just at a store or something?
Yeah, Pennsylvania, somewhere rural Pennsylvania. I don't know where the venue was, but anyway, the kids just hung around. And then he asked him if he would come home and meet his mom.
So he did.
He said, yeah.
And so the mom said, we have to make him eggs. And so
Which
they
is
had
what moms
eggs.
do. Feed the guests.
Yes.
Of course you feed. That's the hospitable
But then
thing
he
to
said,
do.
for decades after that, they
kept
continued the
returning.
They kept getting together. That's amazing. Humbly, whatever you want to call it.
Humility, yes.
Thank you. That's amazing to me. And I'm
is.
sure there's a lot of stories like that with entertainment.
And this is the story of the Jim and Terry Show, humble guys that we are. Take care. Bye-bye for now.